All right, we are live. Man, it feels good to have another episode of Super Pod Shots, man, on this late Thursday evening. Try to get a tech podcast together, but the team has had a very busy week. Anchorman, very busy guy, surprisingly, and rest as much as possible. So we will definitely be trying to shoot for a tech podcast tomorrow. But I have some things to talk about myself, man, while I'm still trying to catch up on the MP3 scene and get some things together. So taking a break for Tick Podcast works for me. Um, Listen, man, lots of cool stuff happening with Xbox, regardless of Xbox One X, the media narrative that's been going around lately. We'll definitely focus a little bit on that. Some of the negativity is just kind of out of control. And I want to touch on some things going on with Microsoft, my opinion on a few things, and my prediction for the holiday release. And I know I'm a little ahead of schedule, but just based on what I feel right now, what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing, comparison to E3, just seeing things from Amazon to just chatting with local people and your local retail stores, man, the buzz is high. So I definitely want to touch on that as well. So let's start the show. I don't want to beat around the bush too much. I want to try to knock the show out and try to take some questions in as much as I can. Big shout out to everybody stopping in this late evening on the East Coast, Central, and of course my West Coast fans. Thank you so much. It was great seeing some of you guys at E3, and man, just very humbling, just meeting people who know you from your voice or just know you from your logo or know you from seeing your face on YouTube and coming up and really appreciating the work that you do and just dropping a heap of praise on you that you probably don't deserve, but very appreciative nonetheless, and very grateful for all the fans on support. So let's get started. Hey, Expedition now rocking with your boy KOR X Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Pod Shots. So first and foremost, man, Microsoft, again, they had a great E3. I tried to squash last week's E3 and not focus so much on it because it's over. It's pretty much going into the end of the month. So we're moving on into July. And that's great because August, we have a plethora of awesome games coming out on the Xbox One, from Conan to Player Unknown Battlegrounds. So it's really cool to know those games will be dropping exclusively on the console, at least for platforms. As far as consoles concerned, not platforms, as far as consoles concerned, they're dropping exclusively first on Xbox, and that's great if you are looking forward to Conan and Player Unknown. There's also a few other titles, some smaller titles that's dropping that Microsoft showed off, but that's great, man. It's really cool that Microsoft is really getting their stuff together, and they're kind of taking a reverse role. When you think about it, the way Sony kind of did early on with so many indie games while they sat there and developed all their big AAA IPs, it seems Microsoft is now taking this approach this time around, which is just kind of funny because earlier in the year, it was so much doom and gloom, and you looked at what Microsoft didn't have for the first couple of months, and so many people relied on back catalogs from the holiday before, as well as any third-party games that had dropped, while Sony, ran wild with their exclusives, everything that came out or anything that got pushed back, released earlier in the year. So they had a remarkable beginning of the first two quarters. But now Microsoft is starting to really get into stride here. Some of their launch exclusives will be releasing this year, and then you have their big AAA titles coming out later on next year, and some projects that they're working on. They got a few titles coming out this year as well. Let's not knock what they have coming out at the end of the holiday, because I'm looking forward to it. So E3, you get the chance to walk around, you see everyone getting awards. Normally, when you see these type of things, you kind of like you're trying to figure out who gets what. Like, what is the big awards that's going out to everybody? How do they calculate who get what rewards and who wins? And in all actuality, the gamers win. And you get this kind of neutral, if you want to say that. You try to get this kind of neutral, unbiased narrative about, the gamers win. But listen, when you're a hardcore guy like myself, you're a hardcore guy like Nicodemus, who's a PlayStation dude, anything that kind of falls in your favor for the platform that you enjoy is a plus. And there's no knock whether they competition or not. It's really so much, it's not really much about the console war more than it is about the recognition of what that platform is doing, and it's something to look forward to. Now, games still have to come out. You still have to play them. You as an individual have to either agree or disagree with whether you think these games deserve awards in the first place. But a lot of games went out there that was out there, got a lot of awards, and some really well-respected games are going to be dropping over the next couple of months, and that's really big. But I want to focus on Microsoft and what they won. So the first award that they won at E3 was Best Hardware, and that's well-deserved. Now, of course, it was pretty much a single competition in a way when it came to consoles, but don't mistake, there was other hardware there. There was a ton of VR devices there. There's a lot of technology at E3 people don't think about. You don't think about new features when it comes to peripherals. People don't think about PCs. PC hardware is there. People don't think about virtual reality devices, augmented reality devices. All these things are all in competition, and Microsoft came out on top with the win. And that's a big deal for Microsoft, and that shows recognition that the people there did recognize the Xbox One X as a viable platform and that it is something to look forward to when this console releases. We should all be excited for it, man. If you're not an Xbox gamer and you're not excited about the Xbox One X, then Microsoft did something wrong. Or maybe they haven't hit the thing that you want them to hit. But for me, as someone who plays games, regardless whether it's first party or third party, I'm super excited for this platform. Like, I'm like super excited for the Xbox One X. You know, I talk to everybody on Twitter all the time, and everyone is always talking about how, I'm not going to trade in my Xbox One S Gears of War edition or my Forza edition or this edition, this customized console. Listen, my OG Xbox is going, the Slim is going. If I could trade in my wife and kids, they going too. I said this before, man. That's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have this console. I'm really this hype on this console. After getting a chance to play it, I won't say play it, the actual release, but playing the dev kits, getting my hands on how it feels to play these games at 60 frames or playing them in 4K and seeing the detail and the distance or the clarity and things like that, that has me excited. That really has me excited. And then to hear some of the things that's coming out from developers about the power and how a lot of this stuff is still untapped. The thing with Titanfall, which to me, a lot of people downplay because of the engine, saying that the engine is an older engine. And that's kind of true. It's well optimized, so it's easier to build games on it. But when you think about this, and I just want people to understand something. When you think about what they're doing with this, the original Titanfall came out at 792p. 792p. I have to repeat this, 792p. There was I won't say promises, but there was conversations early on when this thing came out that it was going to possibly be upgraded to 900p, that they would work on it. And it never happened. It never came to fruition. And now you hear people talking about them exceeding 4K at times and hitting 6K on internal testing. Hitting 6K resolution on internal testing, and then the game scaling down to what it's supposed to be, and also dynamic scaling that'll keep those frames like that 60 frames per second. So there will be times where the game will actually exceed 4K, and there'll be times where the game doesn't exceed 4K and drops below 4K to make sure that the Titanfall 2, this is Titanfall 2 that I'm talking about, by the way, stays at 60 frames per second for both multiplayer and I guess the campaign. And that's impressive. No matter how you try to shake it, it's impressive. No matter what anyone says, no matter what the downplay is, no matter what you try to do to downplay this notion, that is absolutely 100% impressive. And it just tells you that there is nothing wrong with having an optimized engine. I never understand people who say, well, let's see how that works on new games. Why? Because optimized is good enough? Who fault is that? That's not the console's fault. You want an engine that's almost optimized to the point that you don't have to have or worry about any overhead, any issues when it comes to getting the game that you want out on this console. Why is that a bad thing? Why is it that the guys that turned 10 bringing Forza to 4K 60 frames per second with dynamic weather and all these things added into the console and locking at 60 frames, hitting 4K native is a problem while still having 30% room on the GPU. 30%. I'm told this by the man, Dan Greenwald himself. Okay. I literally sat there and spoke with this man, just me and him, just nobody else, just me and him one-on-one for about 10 minutes. And 30% to this day, 30% still left on Forza 7 on the GPU because the engine is that well optimized. That's what you should want. That should not be a negative. Anyone who says that's a negative is a moron. Why would you want an engine that isn't optimized enough for your console so you can get a terrible version of a game? That doesn't make sense to me. This is illogical. This is absolutely the most illogical thing. And and when you're a part of the fanboy and the console wars, you don't think logically. Because a logical person would want any engine to be as optimized as possible to make the games be the best that they can be. So yeah, I think that's a great thing, regardless of how old the engine is or anything like that. That's a big deal. And if more developers are able to spend more time optimizing games, which is what this console is meant to do over everything else, getting things up and running, getting engines up and running as fast as possible. So instead of you sitting there waiting 4 weeks, a month or two to get all of your stuff running on the new dev kit or any updated API, anything like that, then all you have to do from there is worry about optimizing the game for the next couple of months until you release the title, which sounds exactly like what they're doing with Shadow of War. Completely, if you don't think, like I said before, if you don't think they're optimizing Shadow of War to the best that they can make it on the Xbox One X, you are sadly mistaken, because that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they are doing with that game. Optimizing it so that way it can look the best that it can look, especially as a game that's marketed by Xbox. They are doing their damnness to make sure this game and all its assets and the way it looks as amazing as possible when it releases. It's different when you have other third parties. You see some third parties not taking advantage of the hardware. Some third parties are. And in some cases, Xbox probably just can't hit it. Like the CPU wise, just can't hit that 60 frames per second. Or they just can't hit 4K for whatever reason, whether it's optimized or unoptimized, or they don't want to work on it because they, don't feel like it, whatever the reasons are, for whatever the reasons are. At the end of the day, the devs who take the time to do it and the devs who have engines optimized for it tells you a lot about that console and what it's capable of. So yes, I'm absolutely impressed with the console, and I think it absolutely deserved the award. So big shout out to Microsoft for winning hardware, best hardware at E3. My hat goes off to them. They've done a remarkable job with it. There are some things that I will talk about, though, that I don't like, and I didn't like from day one. I never liked it from day one, just like some of the other things I never liked from day one. But, listen, it is what it is. You have to be able to pitch what you want to pitch to the consumer, and the consumer isn't the hardcore. I think that's one of the funny things. Well, I won't say the consumer is a hardcore. Of course, consumers are hardcore, but the hardcore isn't casual, and casuals don't really care about what a message is, as long as that message perception gives off the perception that the seller wants to give it off. Whereas the hardcore, we think a little bit more into what we are purchasing and what is being told to us. We analyze a lot more. So moving forward, the next award Microsoft wins is Best Racer. Now, listen, I don't even think you understand how many racing games was at E3 this year. Okay. It beat GT Sport. It beat Project Cars 2. It beat F1. It beat Need for Speed. Every racing game you could think of that that is like at the cream of the crop was there. And Forza crushed them all. I feel like doing a WWE like like I was doing like a monster truck commercial that crushed them all. It was epic though. It was. Listen, man, I can't praise Forza 7 enough, man. It was really cool getting behind the scenes on that game and checking it out. And if you listen to my Super Pod Shot, I believe it was day 1, and I talked about everything Forza. And while people, if you're a fan of Forza Motorsport 7, you really need to be excited about what's coming. They deserved it. Graphically, it was super impressive. And listen, I'm not bashing Gran Turismo. I'm not bashing Project Cars at all. I'm not bashing either one of those games. And listen, I know that I talk a lot about Xbox and people perceive me as, you know, this biased Xbox guy. Whatever. I know who I am as a person and as a podcaster. But when I watched Gran Turismo at the PlayStation booth, and I literally watched it because they was giving these 8-man races on like this giant 4K screen with a live person narrating the race, which just was epic. It was absolutely epic without question. You know, this guy, he has this British accent and he's calling out numbers and people, you know, the guys are racing and stuff. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the game looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. The cars look so realistic. They really do. But you can look at the game and see that it's a game. You can see that. And when I watched Forza, initially, when you see the cars, you can tell like it's a game until you start racing and you see the environment in the sky. And you're like, damn, that looked damn near real. I mean, the sky and the clouds and the lighting and that game is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's just one of those things where they deserve that award. They really did. They really tried to go all out. And it's just, it boggles my mind that the team at Turn 10, it only takes them literally 2 years. Think about that. It only takes them 2 years to pump these games out. 2 years. That's how well optimized that thing is. And that's how good that freaking team is on a turnaround. 2 years to build an entirely new game, put in dynamic lighting, dynamic weather, add new features to the game, 700 cars, the largest amount of Porsches, Ferraris in, was it Porsches, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis in any racing game, with damn near every rim you can think of for customization, and over 300 pieces of clothing and helmets for your driver, for your own driver. And you can be a male or female and design your driver how you want. You can mix and match all that stuff like that. And they took the time to really do all this stuff. And the maps are incredible. Man, listen, they deserve that award. My hat goes off to the team at Turn 10. They're just, listen, if Naughty Dog is considered to be one of the best developers, if not the best developer in the industry, Turn 10, without question, is the best racing developer in the industry. I don't know. I can't think of any developer when it comes to racing games that outdoes Turn 10, let alone outdoes Turn 10 in the amount of time that they're pumping out these games. Just amazed. So that a game is well deserved. Shout out to them and their continued success. I just can't say enough about what Microsoft has with Turn 10. If they don't have any good, if people could talk about all the studios that they don't have, what they do have is the #1 racing studio in the industry, without question. Now, here's the next thing. You have their final award. They got 3 awards. And this is one award that I just didn't think they were going to get. I really didn't think they would win this award because Microsoft isn't known to be very strong in this category. And it's not to say they don't have amazing top-notch games in this category. But for them to win this award out of all the games that were shown at E3, just mind-boggling. They won Best Independent Game. Best Independent Game. And it went to, I got to pull it up. Give me 1 sec to pull that game up. I can't remember the name of the game. And I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then I lost it. So let's see if I can bring this back up very quickly, if possible. Oh, doesn't look like it. Okay, well, the game that won Best Indie Game, which initially I thought it would be, if it was going to be anything from Microsoft, I thought it would be The Last Night. It actually was not The Last Night. And that's probably because The Last Night wasn't there. It wasn't playable. Trust me, I looked all over the arena. I looked all over the conference for this game to try to play, and it wasn't there. It was the music game with the kid that's in the snow. And it's it's very colorful, and he's running and he slides on ice. Next thing you know, he's on a guitar, and it's just very artistic. I forget what it's called. It's called the geez Louise, why do I always do this? I feel so unprepared, and I should not be unprepared. So I do apologize for that. It was I can't remember the name of it, but listen, winning that for, thank you, The Artful Escape. Shout out to Chiva Boom. Yes, thank you, sir. The Artful Escape won Best Indie Game at E3. Now I want to play the game. I wasn't going to get the game. Listen, I'm not trying to sit up here and be all masculine or anything like that. I just felt the game was too colorful for me. I'm like, hey, bro, that's a lot of colors. I'm like, hey, listen, man, that's a lot of colors. That's a little bit too sparkly for me. You know what I'm saying? The Last Night was gritty. That's how I like my games. You know what I'm saying? I like my games gritty, grimy. I'm from New York, so I like my games like that, man. And The Last Night just had that whole Blade Runner feel, flying taxis. Everything is at night. It looks dope. He walks into the bathhouse. The guy's in the club. He pulls out the gun. The guy pulls a gun out of the water. You can see this with sprites. This game is amazing. I got to play it. But The Artful Escape, holy smokes, Artful Escape wins Best Independent Game at E3 and is releasing on Xbox One and PC. And that isn't a console exclusive or a launch exclusive. I don't know which one it is anymore. Either way, it's an exclusive. And that's big for Microsoft. That's huge for them. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed with those wins. Because, listen, Microsoft doesn't win much. They really don't, honestly. Even when fans think they won, or even when some of the outlets think they won, in the end, the consensus is that they didn't. Something else beat it, or there was something else that was better. And this time around, they really stepped their game up this E3. And the consensus all around is that Microsoft just had the better show. They really did. And people have to understand that the world is bigger than Twitter, Facebook, your local forum, your YouTube comment section. There are people out there that don't give a damn about none of this stuff, that only talks to their buddies and only talks to their friends, or only plays online and sees these things and sees these commercials. And that's really the bigger demographic, not the hardcore, but the casual guy out there that doesn't care about none of that nonsense and sees this and says, wow, that's amazing. I want that. I want to play that. I got to buy it. That's what it's about. And these type of things, these type of awards are important not only to the industry, because it tells you about the strength that the brand has going on right now, but it also lets you know that this company is working hard and bringing quality things to their fan base. And that's great. And if you're a PC gamer, you should be happy about that. You should be happy you're getting Forza 7. You should be happy that you're getting the Artful Escape and whatever else Microsoft has planned coming. So yeah, Microsoft did really good at E3, man. 42 games, 22 console launch or timed exclusives, whatever you want to say, and some awards: best hardware, best racing game, best indie game. Pretty awesome on their part. And big shout out to Microsoft for working hard and really trying to get the ball back on track after a disastrous beginning of the year. They've always been solid. I don't know why people try to downplay Microsoft and say they don't have games. I mean, we all know they have games. People say they don't have good games. Well, the last time I checked, they're pretty much all rated pretty high. You know, you have some games that's in the 90s. You have one game that's in the 90s, and most games is in the 80s. I don't see what's wrong with that. Last time I checked, an 80 is damn near a B. So that's pretty damn good, man. That's what it's at, 3.0 average. That's pretty damn good if you're in college. I'll tell you that much, or better. So yeah, man, they had a great show at E3. I was really, like I said, I was really impressed with it. When I said that, no one listened to me. It took 2 or 3 days for that to really set in, and before I started to get apologies. But listen, they had a great show. So moving forward, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. I've never been a fan of Microsoft's marketing narratives. Now, they've had amazing commercials. I think they've probably had the best commercials this generation. Some of their commercials have been inspiring, from their Rocky things to some of the music that they put in, some of the commercials that they put in for their games and the way they present them. They've been amazing. But the thing that kind of throws me off is the written portion of what they're trying to present. You know, like the best games in Xbox history. I remember when this first came out, I said to myself, I don't know what they're talking about. It is not what Xbox is trying to do. I get the narrative. I get you're trying to push this idea to the Xbox consumer and that consumer base. But listen, you're not fooling me. I'm a hardcore Xbox guy, and I had a 360, and I remember some of the games on 360 before they went multi-plat, when they were exclusive. And even at that point, 360 lineup was absolutely amazing. You want to think about how many games 360 had just rated or sales wise, but then again, it was a completely different generation. The generations have changed completely. I don't think people understand that or realize that, how the generations have changed so dramatically, from social media to overall sales of games. Just completely changed overnight, including the addition of now digital sales being such a large proponent of the way people are purchasing games. It's really changed the industry. It's really changed everything that we normally would use as a factor of how good a manufacturer or a console manufacturer is doing. That's kind of changed. And now you have to look at it from a different perspective. And I don't think people understand that. And that's why I try to stress all the time. People want to try to focus on console sales. You can focus on console sales all you want to, but if your game sales, your software isn't producing, if people aren't purchasing games from your store and you're not getting that cut and your revenue is down, what are you really winning? And I harp back to the Wii. People look at the Wii as a success because because the platform sold X amount of platforms, but the games didn't. Third party didn't. The things that sold well on that platform was exclusives, which normally do sell well on exclusives on damn near any platform. But overall, it didn't do the install base. It didn't do what the install base should have done for it. And in that regard, when people look at that generation, no one really remembers the Wii. People remember 360 and PS3. That's what people remember. So it's just one of those things where Microsoft is really doing a damn thing when it comes to the software side and the sub sides, you know, the subscription side of things. And that's really, really big for Microsoft. And the same thing with Sony, especially with Sony and their digital, not their digital sales, but their software sales, people joining the PlayStation Network and things like that. Not PS now, yeah, the PlayStation Network and things like that. Their new subs are also increasing and everything like that. And having 60 million people adds to that. So that's really important as well. But again, it all comes down to software sales because that's where the money is. Money's not in hardware. You can sell as much hardware as you want. That's one sale, right? And on top of that, when you first make that sale as a console, you take a loss, which is for a pretty long time, about a year, 2, maybe 3 years before you actually start to really make money on those things. And when you do, is normally on the slimmer version of those consoles because they've become cheaper, parts are smaller, you're able to shrink the box, and that's when you really start to gain revenue, unless you have a disastrous thing like the 360 where you have Red Ring to death. So for me, software is very important. Everyone knows this. The executives know this. Manufacturers know this. Publishers know this. The only people that don't know this are fanboys. I don't know why they don't know this, but they seem not to know and only care about this narrative about console sales. And it's not to say that console sales aren't important, because again, what console sales do for you is it puts the possibility of more purchases in your home. But again, the key word is possibility. And if people aren't buying those games with that amount of consoles, then you have a problem. And that's why software is king. So anyway, I never liked this notion of this true 4K thing. And I said this when they first announced it, and they first brought up the Xbox One X, and they kept pushing true 4K. And I remember having a conversation with some Xbox guys, and they're like, why can't they say this? Why can't they push this narrative? And I'm like, because Microsoft doesn't need to put themselves in a position of being looked at as frauds or liars or anything like that. And regardless if what they presented is actually true 4K, what people think about is not native. They don't think about the checkerboard part or the upscale part. They think true 4K means native, because no one understands what true 4K is. So the only thing you can associate true 4K with is native, especially after Sony comes out and changes their narrative to dynamic for their console. So when people say true 4K, you're like, okay, well, every console needs to be 4K. And when you have every game needs to be 4K, and when you have software that's coming out and some of the games are upscaled or they're checkerboard, then you're like, what was true about the 4K? Now they've gone on their website and they've gone ahead and added that true 4K means native 4K, checkerboard 4K, or upscaled 4K. That's what they mean in that regard. And they're going to have a larger portion of games that will be native 4K or closer to native 4K than their competition. But at the end of the day, it's the narrative. And this is why I always say to myself, Microsoft has to be careful with what they say, how they present it in their PR, because they're the only company that no matter what they do, it will be scrutinized to the 10th power. It will be talked about to the 5th power, and people won't forgive them and call them liars regardless of how much they change or what they do. So it's important that they recognize that. I don't think they've recognized that yet. I think they feel like they can put something out, and the casuals, who are the casual people, will eat it up and they won't care because that narrative does not matter to them. They just think 4K is 4K. Just like people who buy the Xbox One S, they don't really care that it is upscaled 4K. All they know is that it's a 4K playback console, and that playback is for movies, and it upscales games to 4K, which is actually the upscaling makes games look way better than 1080. And I have a 4K television, and I can tell you it looks better than 1080. But overall, the narrative is a tough one. So I never liked the narrative. I never did, because I just didn't think that it was ideal. I didn't think that it was a right thing to do if you're not going to hit those key points, because I knew it would backfire. And now you see all of these media outlets coming out and really trying to focus on the negatives of what is and what isn't 4K for this console. And really what they should focus on is whether developers or not are actually making these games look better with other features. Are they getting ultra settings? And I really want devs to focus more on that than actually the resolution, because that's what's really going to make these games look different. You know, you can still have 4K native if you can have 4K upscaled if you want. But if you can get those textures in, if you can add the ambient lighting, if you can really focus on the things that you get in ultra settings and epic settings with PC, now you're really changing the game, or even getting more 60 frames per second games out there. Though I think a lot of people push the 60 frames per second negative, the 60 frames per second narrative a bit too far. What I mean by that is we've been playing games at 30 for a very long time. And never have we said, because this game was 30 frames per second, this game was terrible, or this game is not game of the year, or this game isn't one of the greatest games of all time. So that should not change now. Now, when it comes to certain games, 60 is better. Shooting games like Destiny, Halo, absolutely. Gears of War, 60, yes, it's ideal. That's what you want. Racing games, 60, that's what you want. Absolutely. But games like, an Uncharted, games like a Tomb Raider, I don't really see the appeal. Because honestly, 30 does amazingly well for those type of titles. It really does. 60 is really great for Twitch, anything that's fast paced, anything where you really need to react and you need that split second and that time to look really smooth with no stutter, no hesitation. 60 is perfect. That's what you need it for. But a lot of these other games out there, like people crying over 60 frames per second on, smaller indie games that may not hit it. I've seen a lot of people going in on Crash Bandicoot because the PS4 Pro couldn't hit Crash at 4K 60. It's 1440p 30. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, why the hell who gives, like, at this point, who cares if Crash Bandicoot is 1440p 30? It's a PlayStation 1 game. It's a PlayStation 1 trilogy. And, we got a chance. I didn't get a chance to play it, but Nick got a chance to play that E3. And he told me it was bad anyway because the controls were laggy and he just didn't like it. They should have updated the controls because you're so used to playing things this generation that if Crash had been updated, it would have been a great game for him, in his opinion. I didn't get a chance to play it. I do remember playing Old School Crash, and Old School Crash was great. But listen, at the end of the day, I don't really see what the big deal is about it. Now, if there's a narrative being pushed that is 4K 60 and people are pushing that, that's a different story. You're putting out something that isn't true, and that's not a good look. But at the end of the day, people shouldn't be upset that the game isn't what it is for whatever reason. I think if the game is good, it's what people need to concentrate on, whether or not it's 4K or 60. And that should be the same thing for any game coming out on the Xbox One X. And I think it really only matters to the truly hardcore people who are in the console war and things like that. So all I'm saying is that I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If Xbox gamers want to turn around and boast about the power, which I don't see anything wrong with that, being that that's happened for X amount of years, that's fine. But at the same time, what I don't want to see is guys try to kill good games because they are at 4K or they are at 60 frames per second, because you can have a game that's 4K 60 frames per second and it can still be garbage. It can still be the worst game on the planet. That doesn't change the fact that the game is bad. So we should want good games. And when you get that holy grail, that 4K 60 game that is amazing and it is a top-notch game and it is a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10, then you can have something to really, really boast about because it's hit all those marks for a console. And I think that's a good thing. But at this point, I never was a fan of this true 4K thing because I knew it would bite them in the butt. And it's just something that they do. And I get it. It's marketing. I get that. I get that 100%. But the media eats it up. The hardcore eats it up. And when it comes to competition, the little pockets of fanboys and the little pockets of people out there in the world are the ones that use that as as bullet points to kind of crap on whatever you're doing. And it goes for both sides. It goes for both the Xbox fans and the PlayStation fans. So, like I said, I'm not sure if the true 4K narrative hurt the platform. I don't think it hurt it at all, honestly. I really like the hype for this thing is too high, which I'm about to get into right now. But when it comes to people trying to find ammunition, especially the media that's out there, that I mean, trust me, I've seen articles like, don't buy the Xbox One X, or the Xbox One X should have never came. Like, I'm just like, this is insane. Like, I don't even understand where all this is coming from. Those are the people and those sites and those people out there that I believe may have an agenda, or I believe are trying to put a negative spin on something that hasn't even released yet. They're the ones that use that bulletin point. They go back to those words and use it in articles and get 400, 500, 700, 1,000, 10,000 hits on an article, and that becomes word of mouth, and word of mouth spreads. So that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. So, I hope that in the future, Microsoft, they can continue with the true 4K narrative. I mean, it's already out there. That's what they're going to do. But I hope that they continue to focus on trying to make that more realistic. If right now they're still optimizing their console, they just recently opened up another gig of RAM for developers to use towards games, and actually went from 8 gigs of RAM for games to 9 gigs of RAM. So that's big. And they're continuing to optimize up until release based on my conversations with Mikey Barra. So that's great. And who knows, once these games come out and they release, a lot of this stuff could change, or it could be even closer and closer to being 4K, maybe 19 something or whatever it is that they are going to come out with before actually going checkerboard. But at the end of the day, thing truly, until the console releases, we get games in our hands and we start playing these games. So hopefully Microsoft continues to focus on the most important things and not focus on the media and the marketing jargon. So listen, man, I got into a crazy conversation on Twitter with my man Randall Thor. Shout out to Randall Thor. And we had a big conversation about One X, which I call it the X. And our conversation was about the console and how it will sell. And I don't think people understand. Listen, going to E3 this year, I wasn't expecting the amount of, how can I say this? The amount of tension, the amount of tension that the Xbox section got. If you went to E3, and if you listen to the show, if you've been to E3 this year, you saw Nintendo's area. Nintendo had this giant area, and there was lines just to play Mario Odyssey. There was little things here and there around, but for the most part, that whole thing was just dedicated to Mario and Mario on 3DS or whatever, and you had to wait online for that. Microsoft damn near had every single game they showed off. Damn near, not everyone, but damn near every single game they showed off at E3 in their booth area, including some games that they didn't show off at all. Madden being one of them. This game called, what is the name of that game? I can't remember the name of this game. Jesus, I have terrible memory. I need to start writing things down. This anime type game that I believe released on Switch was there. Path of Exiles was there. Something Brigade. Something Brigade from the what is the name of that developer? Starts with an R. Jesus, I'm doing a terrible job tonight. I do apologize. But they had a ton of games that they didn't show off on stage there that was still playable there. And a lot of this stuff was running on Scorpio at 4K natively. So I was just like, really surprised at how many games they had there that I didn't even know was going to be there. You just had such a large selection of titles to play. And as you're playing all of these games, you're realizing that like these lines are insane. Like Assassin's Creed line was just nuts. It was just nuts. I mean, this thing went out the room, down the hall, around the corner. Sea of Thieves was nuts. You want to talk about a congestion area? Sea of Thieves area was so congested, you literally couldn't walk past people. You literally had to take detours just to get around that area. It was just so packed that the first, second, and damn near the third day, it was still packed. It was so hard to get around. And I was just like, man, the hype and the I guess you can say the excitement for the Xbox One X was really high. Then I come home and I'm talking to people, and all people are talking about is picking up this console. People who didn't plan to get an Xbox talking about picking up this console. People that I know who only play on PlayStation talking about picking up this console. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, everybody's going to pick up this console. This console was going to sell out. I didn't think it was going to sell out. You know what I'm saying? So I hop on Twitter. I'm sitting up there having a conversation. And I go, listen, the Xbox One X is going to be $499. And a lot of people felt like it should have been $399. And I said this to Anchorman, and I said this to you guys before. Listen, I just didn't see it being $399. I never saw it being $399 based on what Phil said, based on this whole idea of it being a premium console, based on this idea of it trying to appeal to this niche audience, based on this idea of what they put in hardware-wise and how they weren't literally going to take a loss. They just weren't going to take a loss on the console anymore. After putting in all this work, there was no way they were taking a loss on this console. I knew this. I knew this. So when the console came out at $499, I wasn't surprised at all. I really wasn't surprised, and everybody else was shook. Everybody was like upset. I wasn't surprised. I was just happy that I ain't have to play Alien Isolation due to Anchorman's bet. And I'm happy about that because he's feeling some type of way because he can't play Fallout. Shout out to Anchorman V for not being able to play Fallout and me winning that bet. Anyway, so what winds up happening now is I'm sitting here saying to myself, dude, this console is going to be $499 and it's going to sell out. And we go back and forth, and he's like, it's not going to sell out. And I said, dude, I think the console, if Microsoft does not put out at least 2 million, like if they don't ship at least 2 million, in my opinion, this console is going to sell out. And I said, I think it'll probably outsell the S at launch. I truly believe that. And he's like, no, it's not. It's not going to, the S is going to be $200. I'm like, the S is going to be $200 for your mom and your pop. For the people out there who want to pick up that console for $200, yes, it's going to sell. But I can tell you right now, everybody who's a hardcore Xbox fan, the people who went out and bought Xbox One on day one for $500 with that Connect, you're going to see a lot of trade-ins on the day the Xbox One X drops. If you don't think Xbox fans are going to upgrade their consoles, you are fooling yourself. I don't know how many hardcore Xbox guys are planning to move up. Like, there are more people on the Xbox side of things planning to move up than the PlayStation side. And there's a number of reasons for that. One of them being just the narrative of the Xbox One, the original Xbox just being a weak console. And being able to finally move on from that. And again, I said narrative, not my opinion, but narrative that the Xbox is a weak console. And guys being able to move on to that, to something that is the most powerful console on the market. The hardcore Xbox fan base is going to show up. They're going to show up and they're going to pick this console up. There's going to be a lot of Slims traded in and a lot of OG Xboxes traded in the day the Xbox One X comes out. And if they don't have 2 million or more, I think it sells out. I absolutely think it sells out. Now, if they do have more, and it doesn't sell out, I think it does better than yes. Now, based on last year's statistics, during Black Friday, the Xbox One S sold just this week, just that weekend, I think it sold about 1.2 or 1.3 million Xbox One S's. Overall, I think the holiday season, the Xbox sold, I think, 3.5 million. That's based on what Randall Thor told me. What I remember was that it sold 1.2 or 1.3 million during Black Friday. The PlayStation 4 sold 1.5. It beat it Black Friday and it beat it holiday season. It beat Xbox holiday season. So PlayStation worldwide outsold it. I don't know about how much, like a million or something worldwide. But the actual Xbox One S did extremely well and did about 1.2 million on Black Friday. Right now, that's at $400. That console was $400 for a 2 terabyte, and they had some other consoles that were less, anywhere from $299 to $349, which was basically your base console. And you mean to tell me you got a 4K machine with 4K 60 DVR built in, all your games, at least some of the older titles that are like on the backwards compatible games, all of these games are going to run better. All of these games are going to look better. All of the games that have dynamic anything are going to run at max. And so if it has dynamic resolution, it's going to jump to its max resolution. If it has dynamic frames per second, it's going to max out those frames per second. Now, that's without a patch. Now, however, there are games that are already locked. If those games are already locked, then yes, a dev has to go in and upgrade or update those games. And there's already the Xbox One X enhancement that's going to be looking good. Like I haven't even played Final Fantasy. Like these are literally my games I stopped playing that I may not play until Xbox One X comes out. Final Fantasy 15, Recore. I'm on the fence about Mass Effect. I'm really about to play Mass Effect though, but Mass Effect is possibly one of them. I'm still holding out for Witcher, which I've never played. That's another game that I'm thinking about just holding out until that comes out, just to get that Xbox One X enhancement. So you have all these games that's dropping, plus you have games like Forza, Cuphead's coming out. You got the player battlegrounds. You got Shadow of War. You got all these third-party marketing deals of these games. You got Destiny 2. You got Battlefront, which obviously people will still pick up on the Xbox One X. And all of these games will have their enhancements and their 4Ks and their upscaling and their checkerboard and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, these games should be running better on this platform. And now that that word is out, you're going to have every Xbox fan go out and pick this console up. And I would absolutely not be surprised if that console does not do 1.5 to 2 million by January. By January of 2018, I would not be surprised if they sell about 2 million Xbox One X's by January. And then, of course, I think it drops off. I think it eventually drops off. It kind of settles in past the holiday because, all the sales kind of drop. Games aren't releasing. You got some big games first, second quarter, stuff like that. But for the most part, that holiday season, which is where everybody's buying everything, you got all types of sales and deals, and you're going to have like increased money on trade-ins. Come on, like right now, you can trade in an Xbox One at GameStop for like $50, $75. Come holiday season, that's going to jump to like 115. An Xbox One S jumps to about 130, 140. You trade those things in, and you're taking money off the top of your X1X off the rip, and you're paying $400, maybe $350. You trade in a few games if you have retail games. You trade in a few games, boom, and you got your Xbox One X. I'm all digital, so for me, all I got to do is hardware. So at the end of the day, man, I just really think that Microsoft is going to do extremely well this holiday season. A lot of people don't think it's going to do well, and I think people are going to be very surprised at how well this console does. And that's just my thoughts and my opinion on it. I'm very optimistic about this stuff. It's not a fanboy thing. It's just based on my experiences, the things that I've been hearing, the things that I've been seeing, the things that I've been reading, and just overall the people that I've spoken to and how high everybody is on this platform. And that's great for Microsoft. Listen, there was a prediction that recently came out that said they're going to sell 17 million Xbox One X's by 2021 or 2020 or something like that. No one believes that. Nobody believes that at all. But let Halo, Anthem, Metro, and all these amazing looking games come out, and Microsoft starts showing these things off in 4K. And that's what the commercial is going to be, in 4K on Xbox. When Forza Horizon 4 shows up with Master Chief and Halo 6, with Anthem and Metro, and you talk about all those other games that they have marketing deals with, Dragon Ball Z, like all those games, Code Vein pops up on the X, they're being advertised by Xbox. Bruh, 2018 about to be nuts. 2018 is going to be nuts. Sea of Thieves comes out. Sea of Thieves is getting crazy buzz right now. It's getting crazy buzz right now. I thought this game was dead on arrival. I swear to you. I don't even bash the game like that, but I thought this game was dead on arrival. I'm like, I don't see the game doing well. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, do I need a plate, hot sauce, a knife, and a fork so I can eat some crow. Because this game was the ish at E3, and now everybody is on it since the last update. All I keep seeing on my timeline is I'm looking for experienced players. Who's on? Does anybody need a fourth? Anybody need a fifth? I need 3. It's all I see on my timeline on my Xbox in the activity feed. I have 400 followers or 500 followers, and that's all I see across the board. So listen, man, a lot of people are hype on this, man. And the Xbox One is going to sell like crazy. The Xbox fan base is going to show up. They're going to show up. They're going to put on for their city. They're going to put on for Xbox, bro. This console is going to do well, man. And that's really what's crazy about it. You can never predict 100% what will happen, but you can always kind of come up with your own assessment based on some evidence that you see and use that as a prediction. Not to say it's 100% true, but I think it will sell out, and I think it will do amazingly well. Yeah, man. So, I think the Xbox platform is doing pretty well. Microsoft just wind up dropping some more BC games. Call of Duty Ghosts for 360 is backwards compatible, which is weird to me because why would you? I mean, if you're a 360 holder, if you was a 360 guy and you bought it for the Xbox 360 and now you jumped over to the Xbox One, I guess that's cool if you own the game digitally, or if you own the game physically, it would still work. But I mean, why would you want to play the 360 version when they have a better version on Xbox One? So might as well just get the Xbox One version. I found that a little awkward. Crackdown finally getting some praise. Recently read this article from someone who said that they actually are now interested in picking up an Xbox One X because of Crackdown. Don't sleep, bro. Wouldn't I say never sleeping because sleeping is the cousin of death? I'm telling you, bro. Don't sleep. Right now, Crackdown, if you love the first Crackdown, you're going to love Crackdown 3. It's everything that Crackdown 1 is and better. You're going to love it. If you never like Crackdown, you won't like Crackdown. That's just how it is. It's just almost like if you don't like Infamous or something like that, then you're not going to like any Infamous. For pretty much, in a way, kind of, sort of, I guess you could say that. Or let me put it like this: if you don't like Killzone, you'll never like Killzone. That's probably a better analogy, because most Killzones pretty much play the same. So I just find it funny that a lot of people have been bashing Crackdown, but probably didn't get a chance to play the game. Just looked at the commercial and just went ahead and made an assessment based on the trailer or based on what they seen at E3, but didn't really get hands-on with it and really get a chance to feel the fun in that. The game is fun. Games can be fun. It doesn't always have to be about some story-driven amazing, deep, intertwining games. Sometimes games could just be fun, man, and it could be worth the money. And I think Crackdown is worth the money, and it's going to be a fun game. A lot of people are sleeping on this game. So we'll see what happens with that, man, come this holiday season, along with the Xbox One X when it releases. Listen, as soon as I get more information on this release date for pre-orders, I will let you know. I will definitely let the fans know. I'm excited about that as well. And I'm excited about the SNES Mini. Have you heard this, bro? I'm losing my mind right now as a Super Nintendo fanboy. Star Fox 2 on the console. The unreleased Star Fox 2 is completed and it's on the SNES Mini. And I'm losing my mind because I want one. I'm going to use the excuse, but I'm buying this for my son for Christmas because really he doesn't need this. He really, like, my son has a problem. I bought him a tablet. He's a rager. He rages. And I mean, he doesn't rage like a kid. Like, he rages like a grown-ass person. And I can hear him saying things he shouldn't be saying, launching stuff across the room at 4 years old. So I can imagine buying him, SNES and him dying a million times on, on Super Mario World or something else and just raging, but can't stop playing, won't put it down. Like any kid or any gamer won't put it down. So that might be a problem for me. But I just myself just want to play the SNES, but I can't justify to my wife picking up a SNES for $80, then turning around and buying another Xbox for like $500, even though it won't be $500 because I got 2 Xboxes to trade in. So I can't justify it, but I got to figure it out. So, hey, the son excuse works for me. Hey, let's get him an SNES for Christmas. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? One of those type of things. But anyway, man, listen. Show tonight. I appreciate everybody stopping out. I will take a few questions if anybody's interested in asking any questions. It's definitely late on the East Coast. I definitely wanted to get a show in. I am continuously working on the MP3s. Don't worry, guys. Those are coming. If you're listening via YouTube but really want to listen via MP3, don't worry. That is still coming. I've just been extremely busy. I'm still trying to get these things up as fast as I can, doing the editing and downloading and all this other stuff like that. Stay tuned this summer for merch. If you're big supporters of Tick Podcast, if you're big supporters of Tick Network, we are definitely working on a merch line to get you guys some really cool looking gear. If you're interested in picking up posters or t-shirts or mugs, you'll be able to check out our lineup sometime this summer. And I think you guys will be impressed with it, where it's worth the purchase. I'm definitely working hard to make sure that it's not just something that you would just use on an occasion, but you can use any day or wear any day, just as a gamer. And I think that's really important, not just to support us, but just as a gamer, something you can rock and something that you can call your own and kind of represent you too. I think that's pretty cool, man. So I'm definitely working hard towards that as well. So if you got any questions, go ahead and start answering them, asking them, put them in the chat. I'll definitely do my best to answer them. I'm going to go ahead and end the show for the MP3 crowd. Make sure you guys tune in to Tick Podcast tomorrow. The team will get back together and we'll have a new show with some new topics. Me, Anchorman V, and B Money will get a chance to talk about. I got to talk about Beyond Good and Evil tomorrow. I'm just blown away by this game. I didn't want to talk about it tonight because it was just too much. I'm literally going to spend a whole segment on this game and how I just think no way this game comes out this generation. No way this game comes out this generation. So tune in tomorrow for that at 11 p.m. Eastern. And of course, Monday, Multiverse Podcast with Anchorman V and team. Tuesdays, we have the Trophy Life Podcast for the PlayStation guys with Nicodemus and team. Normally on Wednesdays on Fame Entertainment Channel, you have our debate show, 2XP, and eventually that will hit this channel as well. If you guys are into the PlayStation versus Xbox with Mamacita, Crunk Girl, Nicodemus, and Fame. And of course, Super Podshots and Take Podcast with myself, host KRS Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox. Thank everybody for stopping out. I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions now, and I will see you guys tomorrow or next week. Thank you for checking out this episode of Super Podshots. I'm your host, KRSKLL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right. Hey man, I want to thank everybody for stopping in. We had up to 36 people on this late evening. Really grateful and appreciative to everybody who stopped out, even if it was for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and answer a few questions. If I see a name, I will definitely shout you out. First and foremost, thank you, Foul, Captain, DNA, Donut, Pepito, D21 exclusive, Louis Sharp. Thank you, brother. Guys stopping out, as well as Addict, Eduardo, Espinoza, Monkey D. Shout out to Monkey D. Cool ass name. Shout out to my man Monkey D. Luffy. Yo, whenever if I get a character in Sea of Thieves, I'm definitely gonna have D in my name. All right, so Monkey D, maybe Lenny D, something. We'll figure it out. Yeah, man. So listen, let's go ahead and answer a few questions, and let's see what we come up with. Captain DNA Donut says, did you get to play Super Lucky's Tale? It seems like a really good game. Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't get a chance to play Super Lucky's Tale. Every time I wanted to get on it, the line was freaking long as hell. And as media, if a lot of people don't know that, I'm actually am video game media. I'm very proud of that. Thanks to you guys. As media, I didn't have time. I had to keep it moving, man. I got to network. I got to talk to people. I got to get interviews. I got to get information. I didn't have the time to sit online for, an hour and a half or 2 hours to play Super Lucky Tale. However, Nicodemus X, who is our PlayStation affiliate, did get a chance to play Super Lucky Tale because he considers himself the king of indies and needs to play all indie games. And actually, surprisingly, he was more impressed with Microsoft's conference than he was with Sony's conference because they appealed to him. And he said, based on his comments, that Super Lucky Tale was better than Crash Bandicoot and that it played as well as a Mario game. And he was highly impressed with it. And just looking at the game, I never played it. I know it was on Oculus Rift. It was a different type of game on Rift. And I know if they really fleshed this game out as a full-fledged game, when you look at this game, it looks great. It looks so smooth. It plays amazingly smooth. And it's in 4K. For the guys out there interested, it's native. And man, the game just looks great. And it really is a trip of a title. The only thing that bugs me about the game is that the game is so goddamn happy. This fox is always smiling. The plants are smiling. The enemies are smiling. It's like everybody's on acid in this game. Like everybody's happy and tripping balls out here in this game. It's the only thing that's kind of bugging me about it. But besides that, the game looks fun, and it's only going to be $29.99 at launch. So I will definitely be picking that up. And it's a great contrast to Ori and the Blind Forest. I've been saying this lately. When I look at platformers, which Microsoft really needs to put a bigger focus in because they have so many with the Rare team, Super Lucky Tale is a great contrast to Ori and the Blind Forest. Super Lucky Tale is your typical platformer, but it's colorful, is a new type of character with a new story and a great art design. And Ori and the Blind Forest is just gut-wrenching with great action and difficulty and tear-jerking moments. It's an amazing contrast of happy and exciting and fun to play to action-packed, gritty, and emotional with Ori and the Blind Forest. And I just think that it's just great. I would love to see those two games bundled together at some point. Get Super Lucky Tale and Ori and the Blind Forest for $39.99 or $49.99 in a bundle on Xbox Live or in a retail. It would be a great combination. Pepito says, do you think we will see more Japanese games on Xbox with the X? We will. I believe Phil has continuously worked hard to bring more games from Japan. If you haven't watched E3, I was completely impressed with what they showed already. What is so much from Japan, but just the Asian market. There's a game called, oh my God, what is it called? Not Journey to the West. There's an indie game. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an indie game based on the Journey to the West story. And if you don't know what the Journey to the West story is, go on. You can go on Netflix and look up Monkey King 2. And it's about Goku, the Monkey King, not Goku the Saiyan, but the actual mythological god, Goku, the Monkey King, and his journey to the West and his companions. And they all have these cool powers. And in this game, you run around with your magic staff, the one that extends, and you have these abilities, and every character has a different ability and super power ups. And it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. And it's dope. It's a really dope game. I played it. I was really impressed with the game. And I'm going to probably pick it up. It's really impressive. But I look at that type of game and wow, that's really a really cool game. That is something that came from, I don't know if it came from the East, but whoever worked on the game really took cues from, the East. And there's another game that's an anime-based title that's on the platform. That's another indie game, which is really cool. I just wasn't expecting to see this anime-looking type game on the Xbox. And you talk about the Korean MMO and Black Desert being on there, Cold Vein being on there, Dragon Ball Z being on there. I mean, I can go on. We're about to get Valkyrie Chronicles, I think it is. Yeah, Valkyrie Revolution. Excuse me, Valkyrie Revolution hit the platform. Is out now, which people should be buying if you're a JRPG fan. I'm not sure if it's a great game or not. Even if it's not a great game, you should pick it up just to support so we can get more of these games on there. And I just see more titles coming as the Xbox One X makes its round, which I think it's just going to sell better than the Xbox in the same period. And I don't mean it's going to make the Xbox make a comeback and beat PS4 in sales. I just think that it will eventually sell better in the same period as the Xbox, especially as that thing comes down in price. You're going to start seeing people just not pick the S up, especially the hardcore. And a lot of fans just start converting to the X. A lot of people are like, nah, I'm not going to get it because it's $500. Watch. People are going to start buying it. People are really going to start picking up this console. I think the S will still sell extremely well. I think at $200, it's still going to eventually outsell it. But I think the X will sell better in its first 3 years or 4 years than the Xbox One did in its first 3 or 4 years. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me see here. I missed something. 1 second, guys. Just trying to fix this. Thank you, Pepito. I appreciate that, brother. He says, nice show from Reunion Island. Shout out to Reunion Island, man. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Captain saying I said his name correctly. Hey, man, I can read, bro. I know some people may not be able to see what I see or read that correctly, but I know exactly what that was. Leonardo, what's up, brother? Thank you for stepping in. First of all, Leonardo has an awesome name because Leonardo is my favorite Ninja Turtle, and Leonardo is a cool name. And he also has an L like me, so that's pretty dope. He says he doesn't have high hopes for Gamescom, but do you think Microsoft has any surprises? Now, here's the thing. My understanding is that Microsoft has something to show, but it's not on the level of E3. We had the interview with Aaron Greenberg. If you watch that interview, at the end of the interview, I got a chance and asked him about Gamescom. Phil Spencer will not be at Gamescom. He has a family obligation, so he won't be there. I don't know who is going to replace him on stage or represent the brand there, but someone else will be there doing the show. They will show off some games. I don't know what they're going to show. Now, I'm not saying they're going to show a new IP. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe they show some enhanced titles. Maybe they show some new indie games. Maybe they show a third-party game exclusive or marketing deal, something like that. I don't know. But my understanding is they do have something. They do have a surprise, but it's just not on an E3 level. It's on a Gamescom level. I guess you could say that, which is maybe a second tier type thing. It's like, it's great, but it's not, oh my God, You know what I'm saying? One of those type of things. Let's see here. D21 exclusive says, wait now. I hyped for Super Lucky Tail. Now, since you said it's arguably better than Crash Bandicoot and Mario. Don't get me wrong. I didn't say it was better than Mario. That is, don't put that in my mouth. Nicodemus said it plays on par with like a Mario title. But he did say it was better than Crash Bandicoot. Now, he did say that. And you can quote him on that. He said that. Yes, absolutely. Pepito says, I am very happy that Code Vein and DBZ Fighters is coming to Xbox. I am too, brother. I am definitely looking forward to those games. Oh, yes, and Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is a big deal. That's another game. I can't believe how I've missed this title. Okay, Monster Hunter coming to Xbox is a big deal. If you don't think Phil Spencer worked his magic to get that game on Xbox, do you understand how many games released on Nintendo and PlayStation only, or PC and PlayStation only? To get Monster Hunter on Xbox is a big freaking deal. And this game looks amazing. I've never played a Monster Hunter before, and I've always wanted to play one, but I'm not a Nintendo fan anymore like I used to be. My last Nintendo console was the GameCube, and I was a Super Nintendo fanboy. I skipped the N64, got a PS1, and I got a PS2. I had a Dreamcast, and I jumped to PS2, which I was a PS2 fanboy. Then I picked up an Xbox and a GameCube. And then I remember I picked up a GameCube specifically. God honest truth, I picked up a GameCube specifically for Soul Calibur because you could play as Link. And I thought that was awesome at the time. And I picked up Mario Kart and Animal Crossing and Mario Party series. I thought was awesome. And what else did I play on it? I can't even think off the top of my head. I didn't play a lot of games in Metroid Prime. I didn't play a lot of games on GameCube, honestly. Most of my games were on Xbox, OG Xbox, and PS2. And then I think the GameCube. Oh, and I had did I have Phantasy Star? I might have Phantasy Star Online as well. I think I had that too. No, was that Xbox? No, I don't think that was Xbox. Was that Dreamcast? No, that was Dreamcast. I'm getting things confused now. No, so yeah, no, that was it. I wound up trading in my GameCube not too long after I had my PS2 and my Dreamcast, and then 360 came out and blew me away, and I picked up a 360 before PS3 and never looked back. And that's been the story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, so definitely, I'm looking forward to playing Monster Hunter. I can't wait to get my hands on it, man. It just looks amazing to me. Fal Davikin says he's seen a very interesting interview with Phil with an Asian woman. It was an interesting interview based on information and the questions they asked. I would have to look that up. I wonder what they asked them. You make me curious. D21 exclusive says Dragon Ball games been on Xbox since Xbox 360. Even Sagas came on the original Xbox. Yeah, but did they have a marketing deal? Have they like really been? See, this like Dragon Ball games have always been advertised as like a multi-plat. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just been a multi-platform game. So you'll see the commercial and it'll be like pick it up on PlayStation 4 and Xbox, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. You know what I'm saying? One of those type of things. But DBZ, my understanding, I mean, I could be wrong, but based on my conversations with the Bandai team, is they picked up by Xbox as a marketing thing. So you're talking about that Xbox logo popping up in front of Dragon Ball fighting game, a 2D fighting game? What? Bro, let the casuals think Dragon Ball Z, the fighting game, is an exclusive on Xbox. That's nuts. Because that's what marketing deals are for. The perception that you can only get it on that console, right? That's the whole goal. That's the goal. That's what everybody says. That's the goal. So wouldn't it be the same? People thinking that game is only on have you seen, think about this. Have you seen this game being played on a PlayStation? Have you seen anything? Like, not even at E3. At E3, those things were actually running on Xboxes or dev kits for Scorpio. So have you seen anyone playing? Have you seen a triangle button pop up on any game for Dragon Ball Fighters? Just think about that. It's a big deal, bro. It's crazy. Let's see here. Foul Davican asks, do you think Xbox is going to show KI Season 4 or a new KI game at Gamescom? You know, KI Season 4 would be a Gamescom announcement, honestly. I think KI is probably top 3, if not the number 1 fighting game on the market. It's the highest rated fighting game on the market, actually. I think it's almost as high as Mortal Kombat, if not higher. I think right now you have to go off Killer Instinct. You have to go off Killer Instinct Season 3 because that is the latest version of the game that literally has everything. And I think that's rated like an 86 on Metacritic. And I really don't put a lot of stock in Metacritic, but just for conversation's sake, it's like an 86 on Metacritic. It's not a lot of fighting games rated really that high. So to have that game rated that high is a pretty big deal. However, it's not as impactful because it's an exclusive or a console exclusive than a Street Fighter V or a Mortal Kombat. So them saying Killer Instinct Season 4 sounds like a Gamescom announcement. It's almost like one of those things where it's like, oh, this is great, especially for the KI crowd, but not something that's going to be like, oh my God, I got to get the Xbox One S because KI Season 4 is out. Like, it's not going to move any units, but it's great that it's coming out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was announced, but I think right now they're concentrating mostly on just, I think, working out little individual characters and building stages and adding little fatalities and stuff like that, just really trying to polish the game as much as possible. Corbin Dallas asks, do you think it's possible that we might get a sequel to Lost Odyssey? That's a reach at this point. I thought that if we were going to get any sequel to Lost Odyssey, it would have been at this year's E3. I don't think they show up at Tokyo Game Show with that announcement. I don't. I think Microsoft goes there and they probably focus on what they have already, which is probably like marketing deals mainly. Code Vein, Dragon Ball Z, Black Desert, stuff like that. And showing off really the Xbox One X to try to appeal to China and Japan and the Japanese market. One thing I read today was that Phil said he will never give up on the Japanese market. And for that, I tip my hat to Phil because I truly believe Microsoft gave up on the Japanese market. And it's great. You can have this message. You can put that out there. And but you gotta walk the walk. You just can't talk the talk. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do going forward. This diversity that they showed at this E3 was needed. And I am very glad to see that they are making the effort. Thank you, Fal. Go ahead and send that link to me. I appreciate it. You can send it via Twitter or send it to me on my gamer tag on Xbox, which is KOR space lowercase x space KAL space EL. So yeah, if anybody wants to play some games, chat online, my GT on Xbox is capital K, lowercase o, capital R, space, lowercase x, space, capital K, lowercase AL, capital E, lowercase L, KORX, Kal-El. Let's see. Yeah, they are working on Terra Battle. Yep, they are. That's what they're working on right now. Yeah, man. So listen, that's it for the show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out, asking some questions. I'm glad I was able to answer a few of them. And listen, Microsoft, like I said, man, they're on a roll right now. I look forward to what they present coming up over the next couple of weeks. They are going to be at Gamescom. They are going to be at Tokyo Game Show. So that's really interesting in itself. It seems that Microsoft is doing amazingly well with this cross-platform play. There's been rumors of Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox now that Microsoft is doing this cross-platform play stuff. And really, it all hinges on being able to get Xbox and PlayStation gamers together in a lobby. And this is what the director and producer, shall I say, of Final Fantasy 14 wants to do. He wants everybody playing together. Xbox, PC, and PlayStation guys all on one server. PlayStation and PC is already doing it. I'm pretty sure Microsoft is willing to do it. PlayStation willing to do it. The tables have turned. It just seems that Sony is just not willing to want to join in the fun and do cross-platform play with Microsoft. First, it seems that Microsoft teaming up with Nintendo was a smart move when it came to Minecraft. I thought that was genius. And now they have another title that they are doing cross-play platform with, which is pretty dope, along with PC. And that's cool. And I put this thing out on Twitter, man. I just said, listen, we are literally one conversation away from getting a cross-platform Mario Kart, but then somebody reminded me, no, Diddy, what is it? Diddy Kart or Diddy Kong Racing. Oh yeah, Diddy Kong Racing instead of Mario Kart. Well, that way you can have all the rare characters in this game, this kart game made by Nintendo, which could possibly, you could make cross-platform play between Xbox and Nintendo and the Switch. And I think that's just genius. That would be the biggest bombshell of any game ever put out. I think that would be bigger than Half-Life 3. Like if they came out and said Half-Life 3 returns, I think a joint game between console manufacturers and then having cross-platform play between Xbox and Nintendo Switch and not having that game on a PS4? What? You want to talk about putting the industry on its head? Bruh. Oh my God. That would be nuts. Now, again, that's wishful thinking. I don't think that will ever, ever, ever happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Do not put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that's going to happen. All I'm saying is it would be absolutely amazing. And someone sent a meme to me and said some people just want to watch the world burn, from the Batman conversation with Alfred about the Joker. And just for a second, yes, I do. I just want to see the industry burn. I just want to see what would happen if this was. I want to see the articles and the mayhem that a joint Nintendo Microsoft game would do to the industry, and have it isolate out an entire fan base while two manufacturers work together and one doesn't. I just want to see what would happen. I find that absolutely, like, in my mind. It was time for me to go to sleep. Listen, in my mind, this plays out as the greatest thing in the history of the industry. And it's so funny to me. I die laughing to myself at the things that I imagine that would be said about Microsoft and Nintendo doing this. It would be funny. But I'm just saying, man, it would be cool if they did it. It would be cool if they did it. And it's just something that Nintendo, I think, and Microsoft should do. They have a great relationship. At one point, Rare was making games for the Game Boy and the DS, but they were still under contract when Microsoft bought them finally, after winning the bid over Activision, or getting them from Activision anyway. And in the end, man, I think that Microsoft and Nintendo always work good together. And being that those old characters started on Nintendo, it would be great to see them return. And Microsoft owns them, and in return, they could make a joint game. We give you the characters, you guys develop the game, we split whatever. You get your money for your Switch guys, and we get our money for our Xbox guys, and everybody has fun on whatever games they're playing in on one server. I think that would be nuts. Could you imagine seeing this game on your activity feed? Could you imagine that? Bro, it'd be nuts. It'd be nuts, bro. It would be absolutely insane. But just funny stuff. But anyway, listen, man, tune in tomorrow for another Tick podcast. Team will get back together. We'll get a chance to talk about that. Maybe I'll do a little talking about this idea of a Nintendo Xbox joint game. If they could do a game together, what game could they do? That might be something to talk about. I'm definitely going to focus on Beyond Good and Evil 2. Listen, go to YouTube. You're on YouTube right now. After the show, type in Beyond Good and Evil and look up the trailer. You'll see an old dude. I think his name is Michael or Michelle Mercel. He is the creator of the game. Watch that video. It's about 14, 15 minutes. This game is insane. I'm not going to talk about it because I want you guys to watch it. Then come back tomorrow and let's talk about how this game is the most ambitious game I have ever seen in my entire life. There's no way, first of all, there's no way this game comes out. This game gets downgraded. Absolutely, if it does. But if they're able to get this game off the way they want to get it off, at the graphical fidelity that it is, this is the most ambitious game I've ever seen in my life. I've never been so hyped for a game. It's literally pushed Anthem to number 2 on my list. And I'm a BioWare fanboy. I'm a BioWare fanboy. So if Anthem is number 2, you know this game is something special. And I just want to see him hit everything that he's talking about in this game. So definitely check it out. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow on Tick Podcast at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want to thank everybody for stopping out and supporting. Still 27 people in here chatting it up with me. Thank you. Very humble and grateful for your support as always. If you'd like to leave a donation, you can up top. There's a donation box. Or if you want to use the new YouTube, I forget what it's called, some type of YouTube super chat thing and make a donation. That's greatly appreciated as always. Stay tuned for more entertainment, more news, and more content from Tick Network and your #1 podcast, premier podcast for Xbox, Tick Podcast, and of course your boy Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox for Super Podshots. So again, I'm your boy KORS Kal-El, the last son. You already know what console is for. I ain't got to say PlayStation. Thank God. No disrespect to PlayStation, though. I don't want the PlayStation fans getting at me. And I'm off this planet. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.